How's everyone doing? Good? You excited to be here? Are you ready? Man, that just brought me back to like my Ambrose days. Is anyone from Ambrose here? Anyone in the house? Okay. That was cool. That was cool. Word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. That was cool. My name is Harman, and like Jer mentioned, I'm a pastor here in the city of Calgary. Who loves Calgary? Oh, I love Calgary. I was born, raised, lived in, left, came back, all in Calgary. All in Calgary. I spent 5 years living in Edmonton. Bro, it was rough. It was rough, okay? I went there, the roads suck, okay? Traffic sucked. There's like 2 trains that go right through the middle of the city, and you got stuck on a train every day to work. It's hard. But we love them, right? Even though their hockey team isn't great, that's okay. They're actually doing pretty good this season. I don't watch hockey, as you can tell. I just look at the highlights. But I'm excited for this series. I was able to listen online to Pastor Cody's message. Didn't he do such a great job last week? Man, as I was watching him, I just kept thinking, man, this guy is so much smarter than me. Like, this guy is so smart. And that's all I could think about the whole time is like, I can't believe I'm week 2. Who did the scheduling? That was crazy. No, I'm just kidding. Cody is an amazing teacher, and I'm always thankful to be able to be under his teaching, and I hope you are too, because man is gifted. But I just want to honor just the leadership here and the team at Tehillah. Thank you for having me, and Pastor Jer. You know, me and Jer, dude, should I tell him? Should I tell him? Guys, I've known Jer for a long time. Okay. Did you say chicken wings? I don't know what you just said. Why do you, the thing at Tehillah is people talk back at you when you're preaching, and it always throws me off. So if you say things, I will usually repeat them. So just be careful what you shout out. But no, I've known Pastor Jer for a long, long time. I used to give Pastor Jer rides, okay, before he even, to this day. Who's giving a ride to Pastor Jer in this room? Okay, some of you, look at this section, okay, these are, you know what I'm talking about. I would be like, and I don't know, Jared just would convince you somehow to give him a ride. Like, I live on the north side, okay? Like, I'm in Panorama, like as north gets in the city of Calgary. And I would get a call from Jared, and he'd be like, hey man, you want to hang out? And I'm like, yeah, bro, I haven't seen you in so long. Let's hang out. And he'd be like, yeah, like I just need you to come pick me up. I'm in like Seton, and if you can pick me up, and then if you can actually drive me to downtown, I have another meeting. And then just hang around. We'll hang out there for a little bit, and then in 25 to 30 minutes, then we can hang out. But could you actually drive me back home, back to the south? You're not in Seton. You were in this. I remember one time we were like IKEA. Anyways, and he would convince you somehow. So I would drive from the north all the way to the south to pick him up, take him to a meeting that he had, and then drive him back. And I was like, man, this guy is a hustler. He's just getting free rides. And then he got a license, and there's freedom, and God did a work in his life. But are you guys thankful for Pastor Jer? I'm just teasing him, right? Thankful for him. I've been able to see him grow up, and you're a man of God. You're a man of God who is gifted, loved, and I just want to say you're doing such a good job. Like, such a good job. And so, just so proud of you. I'm not that much older than him, but I'm like a little bit of a big bro. So, I love you, man. But I didn't grow up in church. How many of you guys grew up going to church? Okay, you're church kids. How many of you have like you didn't grow up going to church? Okay, this is like kind of new to you. You're like, sometimes there's some weird things that happen, but I'm here. Okay, I didn't grow up in church, but over the last 2,000 years, we know that the church has had kind of an up and down history, right? Pastor Cody covered this a little bit last week, that there's been a lot of heartbreak and hurt that's come from the church. And I empathize with that. I can see that. I can see there's been people who've been pained and hurt by the church. But for me, not growing up in church, when I first came to church, I loved it. And I found people who were the kindest, most loving, gifted people in the world. And so my testimony is, I don't think I've really been hurt by the church. Every church I've been to has been so good to me. And church was where I found my best friends, right? Church was where I found mentors. I found my wife at church. Dude, come on. That's the one? That's the one you guys clap for? Okay. See, some of y'all are in here hoping that's gonna be you tonight, okay? And if you're hoping that, it's not gonna be you. It's not gonna be you. All right, that's just weird. No, it's a good place to find a spouse. That's a good place to find a spouse. But I learned leadership in God's house, and all day today, Psalm 69:9 has just been on my heart, and it's a psalm of King David where he says, zeal for your house consumes me, God. Zeal for God's house consumes me, and that's what I feel. I just have this zeal and this passion for God's house. And as I was, kind of prepping the message today, I started to go throughout history of the church and tried to just see, man, what has the church done that's actually good? I think often in our culture, it's easy to criticize. It's easy to look at the church, and rightfully so, that we've done some things that are not great. But man, I was looking at some of the things that we got right. And I just wanted to go through some of these things. Christianity founded universities, right? Some of the oldest universities in the world, Oxford, Cambridge, University of Paris, was all started by the church. We introduced literacy into schools. The church promoted literacy so people could read the Bible, establishing schools in Europe and in Africa and beyond. We even had a preservation of knowledge. Monasteries preserved ancient manuscripts and classical literature during the Dark Ages. We've delved into healthcare. Hospitals were pioneered by the church, and there's early examples all over the world of the first hospitals. We cared for the sick, people who are hurting, who are diseased, and no one else would want to touch. The church was there. We've had tons of charity. We have feeding people who are hungry. We've set up food banks and soup kitchens, and we've established this as a part of God's church, a part of the mission. We've created orphanages and homes for the widows, and there's charitable organizations all over the world that are doing such incredible work, like World Vision, Salvation Army, Samaritan's Purse, Hands at Work. There's so many amazing organizations. But not only have we aided the world, we also used to speak into art and culture, architecture. The church, funded and built stunning cathedrals like Notre Dame and St. Peter's Basilica. We spoke into music. The early greats, Bach, Mozart, Handel composed sacred music for the church to hear. We wrote literature. Dante's Divine Comedy, Milton's Paradise Lost, looking at theological exploration. And even science. Early scientists like Gregor Mendel, the father of genetics, and Roger Bacon, who produced the scientific method. They were clergy or they were supported by the church. Man, even astronomy, Jesuit priests contributed to the study of astronomy, running observatories. The abolition of slavery. Christian activists like William Wilberforce in England were key figures in ending slavery. We were human rights advocates. We spoke to the dignity of people, that every person was made in the image of God, and they deserve to live. We spoke into ethics and law. Many of the ethical systems and legal systems in the Western world are based off the Bible. We cared for the marginalized. Prison ministries. We brought hope and transformation to inmates worldwide. Advocacy for refugees. Many church organizations assist refugees and displaced people. And we were some of the first to support disabled individuals and offer services for them. We respond to natural disasters, movements of justice. You know, leaders like Martin Luther King Jr., Desmond Tutu, rooted their activism for civil rights in their Christian faith, combating poverty. And so I got another 2 pages of things that the church has done that have been good, And I almost get emotional about it, because often in culture we hear that the church is evil and they've done wrong, and sure, there's been moments, but man, there is a lot of good that the church has brought into this world. A lot of good. But then something happened. We began to regress into our own communities. We left our influence in the public square and began to look inward. We began to compete with ourselves. Church versus church, pastor versus pastor. And the church began to divide. Division entered the house. And so, let's just be real for a moment. We're living in a world that seems to thrive on division. Everywhere we turn, there's something or someone trying to separate us, whether it's politics, race, social issues, even our favorite sports teams. Listen, I'm a Golden State fan. Oh, do you see that? You guys are so quick to bring division into the church. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Steph Curry's amazing. Anyways, amen. Okay. Anyways. But there's this division, right? And it creeps into our lives. It creeps into our schools. It creeps into our friendships, even our families. We create walls of mistrust, loneliness, isolation. But that was never God's design. Let me read you the words that we've already heard today in John 17:20. This is what it says. This is Jesus' prayer. This is Jesus' prayer, the person that we follow. This is how he prayed. He said, "My prayer is not for them to be alone. I pray also for those who will believe in me through their message, that all of them may be one. Father, just as you are in me and I am in you, may they also be in us, so that the world may believe that you sent me. I've given them the glory that you gave me, that they may be one as we are one. I in them and you in me, so that they may be brought to complete unity." Check this last part out. "Then the world will know that you have sent me and have loved them even as you have loved me." See, what strikes me here is that Jesus' prayer wasn't for us to be the smartest. It wasn't for us to be the wealthiest or even the most powerful. It was for us to be unified. Unified. Why? Because unity reflects the heart of God himself. Unity is not optional. It is central to Jesus' vision for his people. And you know, this portion of my message as I was writing, I wanted to speak to examples of unity. I was trying to rack my brain of, let me think of the best moments in my life that I've seen unity. And over again, I was reminded of countless examples of division. Church splits, fights, disagreements. You know, a couple years ago, I got the privilege to go visit the Holy Land. Okay, and this is where Jesus would have walked, where he was born. And it was really interesting for me because I'm Indian. You can all see that. Why is that funny? Anyways, I'm just kidding. Sorry. It's not that funny. Oh my gosh, okay. And so I go to Israel and in the Palestine area, the Holy Land. And I go there, and it's just really interesting. It's a different place. It's not kind of like Canada, right? It's a very different place. Maybe you have watched the news recently. It's kind of intense. And I was going there, and I was kind of doing the holy tours, they call them, and walking where Jesus walked, seeing Jesus' tomb, and being able to really be able to look at this Bible in color, right? Because often when we read it, it's a little bit black and white. But when you go there, you can actually see, and your faith kind of becomes alive, and the pages get colored in. But it was interesting for me because when I was there, all right, the Jews thought I was Arab, okay? I kind of look like it, okay? And so I remember trying to go in for a haircut, and the guy goes, and he just shoos me away. And I'm like, what was that about? Go somewhere else, and no, just stay out, man. And that was interesting. And then I went to Palestine, to Bethlehem, where there's a higher population of Muslims and Palestinian people. And they looked at me, and they were like, you're Indian. And I was like, yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. They were like, you're not the kind of brown that we are. You look a little different, right? And so they were treating me a little bit different. They're like, oh, you're one of those Christians, hey, coming here to our land. And so I felt like I was getting it from both ends. It was just like, bro, I don't know how to be in this moment. But when it comes to those tough topics, some of you guys are even scared that I'm talking about it because you're worried, what am I going to say? You have a little bit of anxiety in your chest. These are difficult topics. But we got to follow Christ's example in these areas. See, Christ called us to be peacemakers. And so we pray for peace. And when reconciliation happens, it's powerful. It's powerful. It's a picture of what Jesus prayed for in this text. And so the church, all right, is supposed to be a unified body, thriving together. Unity isn't just about being nice to each other. It's about understanding that we are one body. The Apostle Paul puts it this way in 1 Corinthians 12. This is what he says. He says, just as a body, though one, has many parts, but all its many parts form one body, so it is with Christ. For we were all baptized by one Spirit, so as to form one body, whether Jews or Gentiles, slave or free. We were all given the one Spirit to drink. Now, I want you to think about your body for a second. Each part of your body plays a different role, right? I don't know if you guys have ever woken up in the middle of the night and you're like walking in the dark. Okay, does anyone ever do this? I don't have the cool lights where I can just those clap lights where you just go clap. Can you guys just clap for me real quick? Just like that, yeah. And the light turns on. I don't got those. Those are the smart ones. I got the ghetto lights, okay? The ones that are across the room and you're I got 2 kids and so there's toys on the ground and so I step on a toy and there's Paw Patrol playing. Paw Patrol, Paw Patrol. And you're walking and you hit your pinky toe on the edge of this dresser. Bruh. And you want to scream at the top of your lungs. And you might do that, right? You might even cuss a little bit, right? But, whoa. But, tell the truth, shame the devil. And, but for me, if I scream or if I yell, I got 2 kids that are going to wake up. Okay, and that means the next 2 to 4 hours, I'm going to have to deal with them, right? Or my wife will have to deal with them. And it won't be good. Why you guys, I hate you guys right now, dude. You're killing me. You're making me, I feel like I'm gonna get in trouble with my wife now. I wasn't trying to say anything. I was just saying it's gonna be one of us. Babe, the kids are up. Can you get out of bed? No, that's not what we do. Men of God don't do that. Anyways, you guys are so distracting. Anyways. And so I gotta hold it in, right? But that tiny little pinky, okay? That now is bloody. And it's everywhere, okay? You don't walk straight the rest of the week, right? And it's this tiny little pinky. And you're limping. You're ugh. And people are thinking bro, whoa, what happened to you? And you're too scared to tell them you hit your pinky on a dresser. And you're bro, this car, it was coming. And I was trying to get out of the way. There was a baby in the way, so I had to dive. And you just make up a story, right? You just make up a story. You lie a little bit, right? It's just, you don't want to look like a wimp. But man, every part of your body is used for something, right? Every part of your body is used for something. And so it is in the church, right? Paul actually says that each one of us is like a different part of the body. And so your hand can't do what your foot does. And your eye can't do what your ear does. And so unity doesn't mean sameness. You know, maybe you've heard it like this, that uniformity, right, is not unity, right? Unity is not uniformity. We don't have to look the same. We don't have to look uniform. We're not trying to make everyone look the same. Well, we kind of are in the image of Jesus, but we're all going to be different expressions of that. And so the key idea here is that the church thrives when every part finds its place, when every person finds their place. You know, over the last 2 years, our church, Journey Church, we've opened up a warming center. And Pastor Emmanuel has brought some of the TMS or TYMS teams there to serve. And if you don't know what a warming center is there's people in our city who are experiencing homelessness. And during the days and during the cold nights, they need places to go. And so we opened up a day warming center. And it's been awesome, right? We've been able to see people come inside and we give them food and we're able to bless them with a place to be warm and just to sleep and find refuge. And it's been really cool because even the city of Calgary has recognized our church for this and have said, hey, you guys are doing a really good job at this. We're gonna fund you guys. It's been really cool. And so the city has come and said, yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. The city has come and they said, we got funding for you. You're already doing this good. Just keep going. We're cheering you on. And so as we're running this, this warming center, it was actually funny. You'd think that most people would be happy about that. And Pastor Emmanuel can tell you, he was there one of those nights where we were sitting together. And, we had like a town hall with our neighborhood. And they were cheesed. They were cheesed. People still say that? Yeah. I feel old, guys. I feel old. They're cheese. And, they just weren't happy about it. They didn't like that people experiencing homelessness were coming into their neighborhood or in their area. They said, nah, leave them downtown. We don't want them up here in the burbs. And so it was challenging because we're trying to do the right thing, right? And the right thing isn't just helping the poor. It's actually loving our neighbor. And we have two sets of neighbors. We've got people experiencing homelessness, and we've got people who don't want anything to do with them. And we have to love both of them the same. And it would be easy for us to say, you know what? You guys are sucky. Just go home. Sucky. And we're gonna help the poor people. No. Like, Jesus calls us to bring unity. And so that means that we have to be in both lanes. We have to talk to both types of people. And so this is our call, not just as Journey Church, but as the church, as every church, is to carry unity as our hallmark marker, right? The church, in Jesus' prayer, it says that when we are united, when we are together, when we're unified, this is a witness to the world. And so why does unity matter so much? It's because of that prayer in John 17. He gives this answer. Then the world will know that you sent me and have loved them, even as you have loved me. See, our unity is actually evangelism. When the church lives out true unity, it becomes a countercultural testimony that grabs people's attention. Unity isn't just about us. It's about showing the world who Jesus is. It's not just so that we can have good rhythms and be okay with the people in this room. No. It's a witness to the people outside of this room. And so imagine with me for a second that you're walking through your neighborhood, and you see this family, They're playing, they're at the picnic, they're at the park, they're laughing, they're sharing food, they're playing games, and you feel drawn to that kind of joy and connection, don't you? And that's what the church is meant to be. A family where people find belonging, where they find purpose, where they find hope. Many of you know my story. Last time I was here, I shared a little bit of it. I grew up as a Sikh kid, okay? And those are the guys who wear the turbans. They got long beards. They're in the northeast of Calgary. And I don't know why everyone always laughs at that part. It's just geographical information, bro. I don't get it. You guys are wild. In the knee. Castle Ridge. Anyways, sorry. That's where I grew up. And so for me, coming to church as a Sikh kid, this was amazing to see, because the church that I went to, there was unity. There was. And coming from the outside, I went to a temple where every single person looked like me. They came from our people group. And then I walked into a church and I saw color. It was like, dude, I got so many Nigerian aunties, okay? I be eating the best jollof rice, bro. The best. Hey, okay? Yeah. I've tried Ghanaian rice, jollof rice, bro. I have, bro. It's just not as good, bro. I'm sorry, bro. I can't. Anyways. All the white people in here are just like, what are they talking about? What are they talking about? It's a dish. You go to a Nigerian restaurant or a Ghanaian restaurant, choose Nigerian. And this is great. Bro, I'm about to make a whole part of Africa mad at me. Anyways, we're talking about unity, guys. Unity. Chill out. But I had all these aunties. I remember this gentleman named Brian. Man, he's the whitest white dude you could ever meet in your life. And he was baller too. Like Rolex baller. And he just adopted me. He said, hey, your parents don't want you to go to these things? I said, it's all good. I got you. Man paid for every single retreat I went on as a youth student, paid for every single missions trip I went on. He adopted me. Man of God. And that was weird for me. That somebody would be that generous. Even that trip I told you about that I took to Israel, man, that was a man named Dave Clayton. And he walked into the gym one day, I was preaching, and he said, Harman, are you going to Israel? And I said, no, I'm not, man. I don't got that kind of money. It's a lot of bucks. And he said, no, you're going, bro. He didn't say bro. He said, you're going. He's like 70. He said, no, you're going to go. I'm going to pay for it. You're going. $6,000. You're going there. And so I'm not saying these things so that you'll be united with people so you can get a quick buck, okay? You're like, bro, I've got financial struggles. I should be telling my homies at prayer time. Pastor Josh, how can I pray for you today? Oh, Harman, I'm just struggling. I need some money. Trying to buy a house. No, that's not what we do, right? But unity means that when I see my brother or sister in need, man, it's yours. It's yours. That's how the church is supposed to operate. I was unsure if I was going to share this, but I think it's important. A lot of people, probably in this room and in the church right now, they often want to be the head. But not many people want to be the hands and feet of Jesus. Often when we think of our role in the church, we try to go, what's the most glamorous? What's the best position? What's the way that I can gain popularity? And that's not just the church. That's anywhere you go. How do I become the boss? How do I get a promotion? How do I move on up? And when you look at Jesus, and really when you look at anybody whose name is mentioned in history, Mother Teresa, there are people who served. They didn't want to be the head. They wanted to be the hands and the feet of Jesus. And so tonight, I want to ask you, are you ready to pursue unity? I have a challenge for you today, that we would pursue unity as the church. And some of you guys, somebody's wronged you in the church, and you've held it right here. That's a grudge. You know, just being vulnerable a little bit. Earlier I said I'd never been hurt by the church. That's not totally true. You know, there's been some people who've hurt me from time to time. And I would have dreams that I'd be punched in their face. Just being real. But for the sake of unity, when I wake up, I have to go, Jesus, forgive me. Forgive my thoughts. God, how quickly my heart can turn towards division. God, give me a new heart. And so some of you have walked through pain. Some of you have walked through some hardship in the church. And I want you to know that God's calling you to unity. And that doesn't mean what happened to you isn't wrong. But it means that you're going to give that power and let it go. You know, it's like that famous quote that holding on to unforgiveness is like drinking poison, hoping that the other person would die. And so some of you today, you gotta let go of offense. You've been hurt. Someone said something to you. They slighted you the wrong way. And now you just give them the church stank eye every time they walk in. There's that guy again. You know, or for some of you, it's your friend group. Someone has they want to hang out, and you ask, oh, who's coming? Who's coming? And they drop that name, and you're like, oh, I'm busy tonight. You guys go ahead. You guys go ahead. That's not what the church is. No, the church is a place to find forgiveness, to find hope. Not only for our sake, but for the world. For the world to see Jesus. Man, that prayer that Jesus prayed, I wonder if he knew that we would be sitting in this room today, looking at his words. And as he's praying for all these Christians, all these men and women of God, his hope for us would be that we would be unified. And so imagine what our church could look like if we fully embrace this picture. People from all backgrounds worshiping together. Picture a community so full of love and unity that the world can't help but ask, what's different about them? What's different about them? And when they ask, that we just point to Jesus and say, that's the difference. That's the difference. The one who makes unity possible. You know, I'm sure Brian and Dave and all those guys, they probably had other business friends. You know, and they would say, hey, what are you doing with your money? Oh, I just gave it to some brown kid at church. What? Why? Jesus. You know, I actually pray some of you are wealthy beyond measure so that you can give. So you can give. For some of you, that might be you tonight. I'm about to get a little bit awkward here, but some of you are okay coming to church, lifting your hands, praying and worshiping, but you would never give God money or the church any money because you got trust issues. And God might be saying right now, hey, no, it's time for you to start tithing. I used to be scared to teach on that for some reason. And then I realized, why would I be scared to address people's hearts when something's got a hold of your heart and I can see it? And I can say, listen, for the sake of unity, you got to get that cleaned up. For some of you, you're afraid to serve. You think that I'm too good for this. I don't need to be doing this. My name means more. I'm worth more. And that's not what Jesus did. He just came and he served. He washed people's feet. And so just for a second with me, would you close your eyes? And would you picture with me? I want you to, right now, just between you and God, say, God, is there anything in my heart that I need cleared out so that I can be united with your bride? Is there any wrong thinking in my mind that is keeping me from perfect unity? God, help us. Help us walk in this unity. Help us walk knowing that our brothers and sisters are there for us, that they love us. God, I pray for Tehillah, First Assembly, Journey Church, BP, Foothills Alliance, all the churches across this city, even the Baptist ones. God, that we would be united. Can you tell jokes in prayer? I think you can. God's got humor. So we're going to worship now. If you guys could stand up with me. I've had this picture in my heart all day where we would lay down our hearts and we would begin to worship as just a small image of the church, united in one purpose, one vision, and that is to see Jesus' name lifted high. You know, it's because of the unity in the church that I found a way into the church. It's because somebody said, hey, it's worth looking outside the walls of the church to see who needs to find Jesus. And every single one of you represent a pocket of this city. And I believe that you're called to it, to showcase God's unity so that they can see Jesus. You know, some of you guys often talk about in our time, right? Habakkuk? Have you guys ever heard that? And as I was driving here, I was just thinking about that. In our time, God, do it again. In our time. Revival, do it again. In our time. And I just had this picture, and I don't know if this is, I'm not going to call it prophetic, but I just felt like God was saying, I sent you. Do it in your time. I sent you. Do it in your time. Go to those places. Find the people who need to know Jesus. Show them love. Be generous. Serve them. God, I pray that you would take our hearts of stone and give us hearts of flesh. Renew us, Jesus. Let's worship. Let's worship.